This is a documentary trailer for a film called Why, Christy, Why, which investigates why Madison County, Tennessee juvenile judge Christy Little, 2 years ago at a hearing I was not informed about, increased my child support from $165 a month to $978 a month without cause. It also investigates whether or not other agencies, such as the Madison County DHS and the Madison County Clerk's Office, Juvenile Clerk's Office, conspired to protect her after I filed an ethics complaint against her, and whether or not they have intentionally delayed a hearing to have the support amount modified. The first person is from the Tennessee State DHS Commissioner's Office. And each day, more of these trailers are going to keep coming.
Hello, this is Sarah Gillen with Child Support.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Can you repeat your name, please?
Sarah Gillen, Gilliam.
I have a few questions. Why would DHS, who had sat on that modification on the order for months, have no interest in pursuing enforcement until I filed an ethics complaint against the judge?
Well, I can't answer that question. I mean, I would have to review the case. Now, I do know that they cannot take more than 50%.
They're taking 65%.
Well, then you need to discuss that with your employer, because that's against the law. It clearly states, whether it's this state or any state, that you, one, cannot take more than 50% after FICA and withholding. My records indicate that you are currently under a $978 order for current support as of July 1st, 2007. You were previously under a $165 order. What was the reason for your request for modification? Had you had a change in circumstances, or have you had a change in your financial circumstances, or a change in your number of hours, or when you requested the modification for your order, what was your reasoning for the request?
Because I do not have a college degree. I have never in my life made more than $10 an hour, and a child support order of $978 a month is utterly ridiculous. I beg your apology. Let's say June 2007, before this order went in.
Before June 2007, your rearage was $4,119.
From June the 7th, or June of 07, child support had been collected for approximately 5 years at around $165, and since it was applied retroactively a year from the child's birth, that would explain the original amount being in arrearages. Don't you find it a bit odd that it all of a sudden increases to $24,000 in 2 years, and the child support amount has quintupled, and there has been no increase in income?
And when your balance started to accrue is when you went from the $165 a month to the $978.
It's amazing. It's amazing how that occurs, isn't it? So it brings us to the present, and me asking for a hearing with DHS, to try to add some kind of sanity to these proceedings. My question is about the timing. I filed an ethics complaint against this judge, and then all of a sudden, they come after me with fangs bared, and they, then one reason after another, my hearing is delayed, excuses are thrown up, and, this continues to drag out and delay. And my question is, do you think that speaks of too cozy of a relationship to the point of being improper between the local DHS and the judge?
I'm not going to answer that, because I have no way of making an objective, opinion about that, and I would not, entertain, that until I have the full, and it's not my place to make a decision about the ethical abilities of a judge, and I have no right to speak to that.
Well, actually, ma'am, you do have a right. I mean, you're fully free to. I mean, you have not hesitated whatsoever, to tell me, how I was delinquent in other moments.
Well,
Hold on. I'm not finished. Not knowing the full circumstances. But, it was perfectly fine for you to, shoot at me, but you were not going to shoot at your own agency when I'm sitting here and I have all the evidence right in front of me?
Well, I have the documentation on your case, or the documentation.
You have a computer screen is what you have.
Right. However, we have to go on the documentation that is on the system. That's what's submitted to the credit bureau. That's what's submitted for the treasury offset. That's what can be done for, liens based on your, based on the payment record. Particular scenario, your total obligation as of today's date is $28,569. And our records indicate that only $3,464.71 of that amount has been, paid.
You mentioned a few minutes ago that you you said something about only receiving $3,600 some odd dollars like that. I happen to know, based on forms that I have gotten from both the state and confirmations from the state of Mississippi, I paid out over $3,200 in the last 18 months, whether that be from whether it be an income tax loss, whether it be from the entire garnishment of my wages from where I was a waiter in 2008, where 100% was taken, and I assure you that did happen, and a $1,500 bond that I had to pay when I could not pay $978 a month. Now that totals up to $3,200, and that doesn't count all the payments that I did make through the Central Reception Office in 2004, 2005, and 2006.
We have documentation of the payments in 2004. We have documentation of the payments in 2006. We have documentation of the other payments that you mentioned. So all the payments that you have mentioned are documented on this, screen. And so they're very, I guess I have reiterated, the payments go all the way back to '03. So we have documentation of all of the payments that you just mentioned on.
So what you're telling me is that the state of Tennessee, in over 6 years, has a record of me only paying $3,600.
That is correct.
Okay, we're back in filming, and in spite of what that lady said, where she said that over the past 6 some odd years I had paid only $3,600, let's do a zoom in right here. Department of Human Services, Child Support Payment Summary, Non-Custodial Parent Payment Summary. David Clay Maxedon, that would be me. No matter what she came up with or what I had done, I still, over 6 years, had only paid $3,600. Let's look right here. Here's payment effective dates, payments received, payment less fees, payment received for credit. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to scroll down. Let's look right here at NC payment received 50, and then we have one for over 1,000. Then we have some smaller amounts, and we have a lot of smaller amounts, and we still have a lot of smaller amounts. That's no big problem because that was weekly, and that was taken out of my check at Ruby Tuesdays. So another big payment, $1,500. Let's scroll down. Ooh, we got 205, 205, 205, 205, 205, 205, 205, 205, 205, 205. Good Lord, does the 205s never stop? Still take a look at that $3,600 that lady said that was all that I had paid over the last 6 years. Okay, we're coming into screen. We have totals. We have payments received. That's a big difference from $3,464, like Miss Gillian claims the state should have paid. The number $165 a month was tossed out a lot in this clip. For a reason, I make $9 an hour. And if you take this number, this $12,656, and divide it by my son's age of 77 months at the time when the ethics complaint was filed, the answer is $164.36. That's an arrearage of 64 cents a month, or about $50 over his life, not $24,000. It's amazing what a single dad could do if the actual law were applied, and not the judicial whim of Christy Little.